Make sure y'all stay on point with
The Puncher's Point. First fight of season 4. PBC. Let me tell y'all something, okay? I did not expect this. I didn't expect this. Breezy didn't expect this. And half of y'all didn't even expect this. As a matter of fact, all of y'all didn't expect this. Tim Tszyu gets brutally beaten and gets knocked out by Bakhram Murtazaliev. I mean, let's be real. This was bad. And look, there were some things that we said that were right, but overall, we got the winner wrong. Both of us predicted Tim Tszyu. We didn't expect this. All right. And the biggest question we had was Murtazaliev never been in the ring with somebody as seasoned as Tim Tszyu. So this was going to be an interesting fight. And boy, was it ever, because we knew how dangerous this guy was, but we didn't think he was this dangerous. And honestly, he put the whole 154-pound division on notice. I mean, this guy's not playing around. All right. But overall, we just got to get straight into it. All right. Murtazaliev KOs Tim Tszyu in the third round, 6 knockdowns. 6 knockdowns, and that still wasn't enough to end Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu would have kept fighting if it wasn't for the towel. And we're going to talk about that later, all right? And we're going to talk about all the scrutiny that Tim Tszyu been getting. And overall, we're going to give our grades and all that type of stuff. But overall, I mean, Bakhram laid it on him, man. And it was not pretty one bit, you know what I'm saying? Especially to do that to somebody who is as seasoned and a former champion like Tim Tszyu, who's still in his prime at that. I mean, it is absolutely wild. And a part of me, and I read something online, and I read in one of the comments, and this person has a point. I didn't get the username, so my apologies. But he said ever since that cut that he suffered in the Sebastian Fundora fight, when he got there was an accidental headbutt. When he got headbutt in this fight, he said ever since that moment, it looked like Tim Tszyu was just, it just looked like he was beaten right then and there. Like mentally, there was something wrong. You know what I'm saying? And I noticed it because when he got headbutted, Tim Tszyu was making a big deal out of it. He kept feeling his head to see if there was any blood, and that just doesn't seem like Tim Tszyu. I feel like that Sebastian Fundora fight definitely took a lot out of him. And I feel like that cut is definitely something that he's worried about. And I feel like once that headbutt happened, I feel like that was kind of like the start in shifting things. I'm not saying that's the reason why Murtazaliev won. Murtazaliev won just by beating him. But overall, I feel like that was definitely something where Tim Tszyu's mind kind of, went into flashback mode. But overall, let's get to strategy, all right? Let's rate this on a scale of 1 to 10. So, you know what, Breezy? I'm gonna have you start off first as far as strategy. Rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, not as far as individual fighter, just the fight in general. And overall, what did you see that Murtazaliev did to get this dominant win over Tim Tszyu?
I say 10. Off the bat, as soon as the bell rung, Bakhram went straight at Tim Tszyu. How many fighters do you see go straight at Tim Tszyu like that? Now, I know I kind of say that he was gonna have to kind of play before. I mean, I guess you can kind of say he played it kind of how I said it, but I did not think those punches were gonna affect him like that. And what I mean is it felt like every time he hit Tim, it was almost like he took almost like 50% of life out of Tim. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching and I'm like, wait, but this is the early. I'm thinking, okay, maybe if this happened, this would happen later on. I didn't think that power. I didn't think he hit that hard. I knew the man had some kind of pop, but I didn't think it was that effective. And Mario made a great point about Tim's weakness for left. And what did he do? He exploited the weakness. That's why they say when the fighter has weakness and whatnot, all it takes is one fighter to exploit that and pick up on it. And that's exactly what Bakhram did. And not only that too, but the knockdowns too. I mean, first of all, can I just say, let's just give it up for Tim Tszyu getting up and still trying to be a dog through all that. 6 knockdowns, that's insane. But from the jump, he applied pressure to Tim, and you saw moments where Tim got uncomfortable. And you know what Tim tried to do? He tried to do what a lot of other fighters do. When he get hit hard, when he gets dropped, he tries to react by throwing the punch. He tries to throw another punch. It just didn't work in his favor.
And overall, as far as the whole strategy, I think Tim Tszyu had a strategy coming in. And look, the problem with fighting a guy like Murtazaliev is he's so quick. And the problem with him is he knows his range and he knows where he needs to hit you and he knows how he needs to hit you and he basically knows what he has to do. And Tim Tszyu, it seemed like both of them were feeling each other out in the beginning, and I don't know what Tim Tszyu's plan was, but it seemed like there were like very, very few moments when like Tim Tszyu kind of got into the inside and kind of, started sticking him into the body a little bit and kind of getting him with a jab. And that was a little bit of something, but it didn't happen a lot. You see, the problem was Tim Tszyu, the only way he knows how to fight is fighting forward. All right. He's got decent defense, but the only way he knows how to fight is fighting forward. Whether he's in the lead of a fight or whether he's in danger, that's the only way he knows how to fight is to come forward. And after getting knocked down two times, you think a fighter would back off a little bit, try to pace himself, get himself regrouped. He didn't do that. Instead, Tim Tszyu just tried to keep on coming forward and try to hurt Murtazaliev. But the problem is, he's already taken so much out of you at that point that you just can't keep on coming forward. I'm gonna say this. Murtazaliev's jab was a huge, huge weapon as well. Like a lot of people don't give him credit for that. Like that jab was definitely hitting, but that jab is also a lefty jab a little bit. And Murtazaliev was able to use that jab to kind of start setting some things up. And whenever he would try to throw a power punch, Tim Tszyu tried to counter, and you can't counter punch a counter puncher like that. I mean, Murtazaliev, we said how quick he was. We said he probably is one of the quickest 154 pounders in this division, but you can't fight Murtazaliev like that, And I feel like Tim Tszyu's ego kind of got into the way a little bit. But overall, I mean, he is a dog. I mean, to get up after six knockdowns, I mean, that is huge. So as far as a grade, overall grade, Tim Tszyu's grade wasn't that great. Murtazaliev was a 10. I'm gonna give it like a 7. I'm gonna give this like fight strategy like a 7, honestly. But I know Breezy got some thoughts that he wants to get off of his mind, and overall, I would love to hear your grade too.
I I got about the same. Overall maybe 7, but as far as Bakhram, I give it a 10. I was tasting Mario before we did the pod. I said, you ever noticed when a fighter gets knocked down recently in boxing, they're just been coming forward and coming forward and coming forward. Look, that boxer's ego is a whole different kind of ego. It's different from a basketball player's ego, football player. It's different because it's almost like a sense of embarrassment. And you so-called boxing fans don't help it when you get on the internet and you clown these fighters. Why do y'all clown fighters when they get knocked down? Even though they put their body on the line, even though they get out here and they try to make the best fights happen, y'all clown them in return. This fight, to me, was kind of similar to like Haney and Ryan, Bud and Earl. If you want to be technical, Fury and Wilder. And obviously I know those cases are different because in particular cases there was a whole lot of, maybe PEDs, maybe some glove issues and whatnot. But the point I'm making is that the love it's the most important thing when you're fighting is when you get knocked down, it's to stay focused on the game plan. And I know it's kind of hard because it's like an embarrassing thing to get dropped. It's kind of like you getting turned down by your crush in front of all your friends. It hurts. It hurts. But you gotta stick to the game plan and whatnot. And I feel like Tim Tszyu just gotta keep his head up. You can tell he was worried about that cut because I seen him touch it with his glove. So, and look, y'all stop clowning these fighters whenever they get knocked down. Y'all did it to Spence, y'all did it to 14, Wilder and Haney, and y'all doing it to Tim. Cut it out. It's boxing, okay? Mistakes happen. These guys are getting on putting their life on the line. Stop clowning them and give these fighters their props. But nevertheless, I agree with your grade too. Bakhram 10, but overall 7.
All right, now let's get straight into excitement. This was an exciting fight, but it wasn't. It was one-sided like excitement or one-sided anxiety. Look, a lot of the boxing community likes Tim Tszyu, and what happens when you take your loss? They charge at you like sharks. Now all of a sudden you suck. Now all of a sudden you're a bum. Now all of a sudden, you shouldn't have been talking that crap to begin with. You shouldn't have been saying this. You shouldn't have been doing this. Now all of a sudden they're scrutinizing you. This is what boxing fans are. It's called being fickle. Stop doing it. But overall, as far as this match in itself, it's exciting, man. It was an exciting fight. I give it an 8. It's not a 10 because it's not action from both sides. But overall, I mean, it was action packed. You could say from round 1 to round 3. The only problem was it was one guy. But honestly, excitement for me, I got to give it an 8 because Bakhram came in here, remind y'all, as a plus 400 underdog. A plus 400 underdog. And we knew this was going to be close. If y'all look, this is the first very wrong prediction we've gotten in a very long time. Usually one of us is correct or very like around the ballpark, around the area to where you can win somebody. But look, if y'all betted on Tim Tszyu based off of our predictions, we're sorry. Okay. But overall, this is close. This was close. Okay. This was a very, very close fight. And look, we're not always going to be right. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean y'all shouldn't like still not listen to us, It doesn't mean we're the Chael Sonnen of boxing where we just keep on predicting wrong fights. That's not us. But overall, we're sorry if y'all took our advice. You know what I'm saying? We know you rely heavily on our advice and our analysis. We're sorry if you took that advice and you betted on Tim Tszyu and it didn't pan out in your favor. But overall, as far as excitement, man, I got to give it an 8. Overall, Bakhram had it all action packed for the first 3 rounds. Tim Tszyu being a dog, keep on getting up. It had a lot of excitement. So I'm gonna give it an 8.
Shaw lost money. Just a reminder, by the way, Tank is fighting Lamont Roach Jr. And of course, y'all know, ching, ching, ching. So tap in around that fight if you want to make some more money, some more money. But other than that, though, I give the fight a great rate a 9. The reason I give it a 9 is because it was an upset that I did not see happen. Yes, I did think Bakhram was a good fight. I did think he had enough pop to do some kind of troubling for Tim, but I did not see that fight going that way at all. And to me, whether I like the fight or not, I feel like upsets like that, I feel like they deserve either a 9 or 10 because it's like you just didn't see the fight going that way. Well, okay, I'll say this: if anybody did see the fight going like this, please in the chat let us know. Please let us know and let us know how did you see the fight going from tick to tack. Some of y'all gonna be lying per usual, but to those who actually thought that Bakhram was gonna do this to Tim, please let us know in the chat, and we'll be more than happy to like, respond, and comment back. But for real, other than that, though, I have to give it a 9 because this was an upset that nobody saw coming.
And we got other fights before even Tank Davis, Lamont Roach. So y'all just got to make sure you tune into that, okay? Overall, go back to our other prediction episodes. We get a lot. I'm telling you, we even if we get the predictions wrong, when you hear our analysis, there's always something right about it. We talked about the left counter. We talked about how the left hook was a weakness of Tim Tszyu's, and if you use a jab, it's a problem. That's what happened in this fight. We talk about how basically we talked about how quick he was and how this was going to be a tough fight for Tim Tszyu. We said it might be too much for him to chew. That's what happened. So overall, there's always something that we say is correct. Okay, even though we don't get the predictions right all the time, there's always something that we say is correct. So make sure y'all continue to tune to the prediction episodes and take out as much as you possibly can from our analysis. Now, as far as stakes, what was at stake? The IBF championship. Now, could you say this like there was anything more at stake than just the IBF title? No, because Murtazaliev was already champion. This was a way for Tim Tszyu to get back at becoming a champion at 154 pounds and basically being a two-time junior middleweight champion. So that's something that we can take into effect. But overall, I mean, as far as stakes, it was just the IBF title on the line. And I always say when you have one title on the line, it's big. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna be generous. I'm gonna give the stakes a 7. Um, yeah, I gotta give it a 7, but I can't give it anything higher than that. The IBF title's on the line, and that's what kind of pushes it at a 7 for me. And that's being a little bit generous, but I gotta give it a 7, honestly. Just the IBF title's on the line, and that's as far as stakes. Now, you could bump it up a little bit because now you're looking at, well, Tim Tszyu just suffered 2 losses in a row, and what does that mean for his career? Does that mean he goes back to being like on prelims or like undercards? Well, what does that mean for Tim Tszyu? Because this was in a resort. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't in a arena of thousands of people. This was in a resort. So you got to take that into effect as well. But I'm gonna give it a 7. Yeah, I think a 7 is the right place to put it.
I give it an 8 just because of that. you know, and I think it's really important for people to kind of like take into consideration. Once these fighters take a loss, they have to go. Not only do they have to go back to the drawing board, now they got to figure out what's next. Meaning, who can I fight? Where do I go? Are they going to push me to the back of the line? Do I get to fight this guy? Do I get to fight this guy? Do I get to pick back up and fight this guy? I give it an 8 just because of that. Because now we as boxing fans, we have to sit right here and kind of basically play Detective Sherlock Holmes and figure out what's next for Tim Tszyu. While on the other hand, for Bakhram, we got to find out, well, does he get uplifted? Does he fight the winner of Spence and Fondora? Is he next for Crawford? You got so many things that you can look at and look towards. So that's the only reason why I give it an 8.
And last but not least, Impact. I'm gonna be honest, the Impact's an 8. And the reason why I say that is because Murtazaliev was already a champion, but nobody looked at him as a champion. When we talked about the champions, we were talking about Fondora and Crawford. We weren't talking about Murtazaliev. Murtazaliev was just that, that champion on the side that nobody even looks at. And then Tim Tszyu's coming back. So Tim Tszyu should, get that IBF title out the way. And then all of a sudden we make those super fights with Tim Tszyu and all those other guys. That's what we were expecting. We weren't expecting Murtazaliev to whoop him for 3 rounds, destroy him, knock him down 6 times, and hurt him so bad to the point where the corner had to throw in the towel to stop it. We weren't looking at it like that. So the reason why the impact is an 8 is because now you could set up so many fights with Murtazaliev. And I believe you could have set up those fights where he won or lost this fight. You could have set up so many fights with Murtazaliev, and now we're talking about the A tier of creating fights. Now, like Breezy said, you're talking about Crawford. You're talking about Fondora. You're talking about Earl Spence if he beats Fondora. You're talking about the Charlos and the Virgils. We're talking about all these guys. And I got a fight matchup that I definitely want to see, and this is a number one for um Murtazaliev, but I'm gonna hold that to the end. I'm not gonna spoil it. But overall, I gotta give it an 8. I feel like because he won this fight so dominantly, I feel like there's a lot of fights you can make for Murtazaliev. So I gotta give it an 8. The only reason why I don't give it a 10 is because I don't think it's enough right now to really put it at a 10 to where you can make a super fight, or it doesn't impact boxing in the sense of he's a top 10 pound for pound fighter now. We still have to wait a little bit and see what he does, but overall, I got to give it an 8, man.
I got to give it about a 8 too. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like you said best, it's so many matchups you can make with it. And all of that too, another great point you made was that people didn't really view him as a champion. It's crazy because the man had a belt, but this whole time we was kind of looking at him as a challenger, just due off his skills. But yet we forgot that this man, he does have some respectable power, and he came in there and basically shut all of us up. And yes, I said all of us because, like I said, there's no way the majority of y'all had Bakhram doing that to Tim Tszyu, just like none of y'all had Crawford doing Spence the way he did him. And if you say you did, you are lying. Okay, so yes, I give it about an 8 too. You know what I'm saying? So much you can do, and not only that too, but this just raised the stock and respect for Bakhram shoots through the roof.
Now, as far as a fight grade, this is our first fight grade of the season, so it's number one by default. It's also the last by default, depending on how you look at it. The glass half full, the glass half empty. 7.75. That is the grade for this fight. And overall, I think that's pretty respectable. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look, it's not going to be number one, I don't think, by the time this year is over, unless these fights really start sucking. But 7.75 is pretty respectable, and I think that's where it belongs and where it needs to be. So overall, yeah, that's going to be the overall fight grade for Tim Tszyu versus Bakhram Murtazaliev. Breeze, you got anything to add before we get on to the next part of this video?
I bet you Tank fight gonna be number 3 or number 4. Bet you that. Y'all watch. Y'all stay tuned. I'm calling it right now. Watch. It's gonna be 3, 4, or 5. It's gonna be past 2. Just know that.
Gonna be past 2. If that fight ain't past 2, then I mean I'm sorry, but Tank better start investing with Turkey because that's gonna be terrible. But nah, overall, we're gonna give a fair grade of that fight. Breezy's playing. We're gonna give a fair grade of that fight. Tank's fights are usually exciting. They usually got a decent grade around them. So yeah, I don't expect anything less.
Until he start letting his hands go.
Till he starts letting his hands go. Like that's the thing.
I'm
Now
dangerous.
I'm dangerous. What a meme. Anyway, let's get on to the next topic. what is next for Bakhram Murtazaliev? I got the matchup. Like, you want to know what my matchup is? This is the number one matchup I want to see when Murtazaliev. And this man already has a fight, but we can wait till after that fight's over. Murtazaliev versus Israel Madrimov is the number one fight I want to see in this division. And here is why. Israel Madrimov took the number one pound for pound fighter in Terence Crawford and pushed him to his limits. Pushed him to those limits. We're talking about a highly decorated amateur and a guy who, in just 11 fights, was able to get a title shot. All right? That is unheard of. Here's the reason why I want to see this fight happen. Murtazaliev is a very quick fighter who can counterpunch you and has got some pop in his punches. Israel Madrimov is a very quick fighter who can counterpunch you and got some pop in his punches. When you see those two fight, it's going to have strategy. It's going to have excitement. It's going to have all the skills. These two basically have a very similar skill set. The only difference is Madrimov has an awkward style that works for him, and Murtazaliev is basically able to use quick footwork to get in and out of range. So it's going to be a very, very good matchup, and that's why I want to see it. A lot of people are going to be like, well, that's a terrible fight because he lost to Terence Crawford. And before y'all even say anything in the comments, it took 12 rounds. It was the first 12-round fight Crawford had in what, 9 fights? All right. And this guy not only took him to 12 rounds, but he made it really close. All right. The largest margin you could have for that fight was 116-112. That's the largest margin you can have, 8-4. Other than that, that was a 7-5 fight, or it came down to 1 round. And Crawford had to dig deep in his bag to beat somebody like Madrimov. So you know what? Madrimov is not out of this equation yet. He's not out of this equation by no means. So you know what? Murtazaliev versus Israel Madrimov is the next fight I want to see. But Madrimov's got a tough fight coming up too. I think against correct me if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. Bahachek. I think that's who he's fighting next. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's going to be a good fight. So make sure y'all definitely tune into that one. I think it's on one of the Saudi pay-per-views. I can't remember which one as of right now, but it's definitely on one of those pay-per-views. So make sure y'all go check that out when it happens. We'll remind y'all. But yeah, Murtazaliev versus Israel Madrimov. I think that has all the pieces in the world to be a 10 out of 10 fight for us, honestly. But overall, Breezy, I'm gonna pass on to you. What is next for Murtazaliev? And even touch up on Tim Tszyu. What do you think should be next for him?
Okay. Brock and Virgil. And then I thought about it for a while with the Madrimov. I was like, yeah, you know what? That would be good. So you can put him in there with Virgil, you can put him in there with Madrimov. Either one. For Tim Tszyu, the best fight to be for him right now is probably a returning Jermell Charlo. If Jermell is ready to come back to the 154 division. Best, he's on a losing streak. Jermell needs to make his return. So what do? You got a guy that's coming back, trying to get back into the division, and you got a guy that's trying to climb back up in the division. So, yeah, Tszyu and Mayo, Brock, Ortiz, or Brock and Madrimov.
For sure. Jermell Charlo was my first option for Tim Tszyu as well, because this fight should have happened a decent amount of time ago, and obviously, some things got in the way of it. You could make him and Virgil for sure. Because that fight was always speculated to happen, it just didn't. And I don't believe Tim Tszyu is a bum. You know what I'm saying? I am curious to see how much he has left in the tank, and if that loss to Fundora and this loss does anything to him. But number one would definitely be Charlo. And like you said, he's returning after that loss to Canelo. He hasn't fought in almost a year. So that would definitely be the number one fight, because, I mean, it's time to see Charlo back. You know what I'm saying? And somebody told me that Charlo has a fight coming up. I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate. The reason why is because unless Mike Coppinger, Michael Benson, Dan Raphael, or ESPN announces it, I don't believe it. So we're just going to have to see.
The word in the street was that Jamal Charlo was supposed to be fighting a guy named Cornflake. But Jamal, that's his nickname. That's his nickname. But Jamal wants to fight Buba Andrade. But they're trying to line him up to fight a guy named Cornflake.
Right. And this ain't got nothing to do with Jermell. This is Jermal. So Jermel's wide open. You got to pick a fight. You got to take one, man. 154 is still your division, as you claim to say. Unless you want to bump up to 160, and challenge somebody like Janabek or Zlandi. I mean, I don't want to see you do that, man.
No, because I don't want to hear this is for the culture, and then he gonna go in there and lay down. No, 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 no. Either stay at 154. We don't need any more. We don't know because no, we don't need that to happen again. Because you might make us riot. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
And stay away from Janabek. That's all I gotta say. Stay away from that juggernaut. All right. We haven't even touched up on a fight with him. But I mean, God, it's gotta happen soon. You know what I'm saying? But Janabek, stay away from him. But overall, nah, Jermell Charlo and Tim Tszyu. For me, Murtazaliev and Madrimov. For Breezy, Murtazaliev versus Virgil, but overall, I'd really like to see one of those fights happen. And I think overall it's going to be a great fight. But we're just going to have to wait and see. You know what I'm saying? Overall, Murtazaliev, good job shutting us up. Good job basically just proving us wrong and being like, I'm gonna get this dude out of here in 3 rounds. A former world champion, still technically in his prime in 3 rounds, knocking him down 6 times. That is unheard of. All right, Tim Tszyu, keep your head up. You're a dog, you're a warrior. I never heard of somebody getting up 6 times. The closest thing I can compare this to, Breezy gave all the recent fights. I'm gonna take y'all back a little bit. George Foreman versus Joe Frazier. That is as big as I can compare it to because George Foreman floored Joe Frazier, I think, about 8 times in one fight. And Joe Frazier just kept getting back up, because Joe Frazier was a dog and George Foreman was a powerhouse. That's the only thing I can compare it to. I have not seen anybody get beat this bad since that fight. It was worse than Earl Spence. It was worse than Deontay Wilder. It was worse than Fulton. It was bad. I have never seen anybody get beat up this bad in my entire life since. I haven't seen anything like it since Joe Frazier and George Foreman. I know I wasn't born around that time, but trust me, I saw the fight. I seen what happened. George Foreman whooped him and made Joe Frazier rest in peace. But I have not seen a beating that bad since that fight. So you know what? Congratulations to Bakhram Murtazaliev. Congratulations on basically putting up the upset. Whoever betted on Murtazaliev, congratulations on winning your money. Tim Tszyu, keep your head up. Big things are still there for him. It's just a matter of how much he got left in the tank and overall, what's the next plan for Tim Tszyu. But other than that, Breeze, I'm going to have you wrap this up for me.
Yeah, sir. Y'all know what the deal is. It's the Puncher's Point. Once again, we're on to season 4, not season 1, not season 2, not season 3. Yes, I said we're on to season 4. So y'all already know it's new things to come. Make sure y'all stay tuned in with the podcast, the Instagram, the X, and everything else that we will be dropping come this season. Y'all know what it is. It's the Puncher's Point. So, without further ado, make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point.
What's up, y'all? If y'all love this episode, make sure y'all subscribe. You hit that notifications button and also take a look at the recent episodes that we made before this. Make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point.